When I first met Emily, it felt like the world hit pause. We were at a book cafe downtown, an old place that smelled like cinnamon and nostalgia. She was wearing a navy blue coat, sipping something hot while immersed in Wuthering Heights. I knew nothing about literature, but I sat across from her anyway and asked if the book was worth the hype. She smiled, lifted one brow, and asked, "Are you trying to flirt or educate yourself?" That was Emily. Sharp, warm, unpredictable. In the year that followed, I thought I'd hit the relationship jackpot. Emily was thoughtful and ambitious, a schoolteacher who loved children and dreamed of opening her own center one day. We'd go on spontaneous weekend trips, argue over movie plots, and cook pasta while dancing to Fleetwood Mac. She made life feel like something out of a novel. My parents loved her. My friends envied me. When I proposed, she cried and said, "I've been waiting for someone like you my whole life." We were married within a year. A modest wedding, just close friends and family, in the backyard of her childhood home. And then, everything changed. Not overnight, but little things, quiet things, like the way she stopped laughing at my jokes, or how she started sleeping with her back to me. At first, I chalked it up to post-wedding exhaustion. But weeks passed, then months, and the woman I fell in love with seemed to vanish into thin air. One night, I came home to find her scrolling through real estate websites. "For what?" I asked. "I'm thinking we should move," she said, not looking up. "Somewhere better. This apartment's too small. It's beneath us." Beneath us? We'd chosen this place together. It had creaky floors and terrible water pressure, but it was ours. "I don't want to live like this anymore, Daniel," she added. "I want more." Something in her voice didn't sound like want. It sounded like resentment. And that was the first time I realized. The woman I married was no longer the woman I knew. Emily became a stranger in familiar skin. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. Everyone changes after marriage, right? That's what my buddy Jake said. The honeymoon phase dies, reality kicks in, bills pile up, and the sparkle fades. I didn't want to believe him, but maybe that's what was happening. But no, this wasn't just a sparkle fading. This was a transformation. It started with the apartment. She hated it now, called it a crumbling box with no future. We'd once slow danced in our kitchen with wine-stained lips and fairy lights, but she ripped those down one afternoon without saying a word. Then came the decor. The bohemian pillows she used to adore, replaced with sharp, minimalistic grays. The hand-painted quote frame we'd picked together, "Home is wherever I'm with you," was gone. She didn't ask. She just erased. Then she quit her job. Emily, the teacher who'd once cried because a 6-year-old gave her a crayon drawing that said, "Miss Emily is my hero," handed in her resignation without even discussing it with me. "I want more," she said again. "More what?" I asked. "More than snotty kids and PTA moms who think teaching is babysitting. I deserve more than a mediocre salary and a mediocre life." She'd started following lifestyle influencers, glamorous women with expensive shoes and glossy kitchens. She said she wanted to try content creation. When I asked what kind, she just shrugged. "Something that gets me out of this dump." I was stunned. The Emily I knew used to find beauty in imperfections. We used to laugh at those fake perfect couples online. Now, she was trying to become one of them. Worse, she'd begun comparing me. "Do you know Jessica's husband just got promoted to regional director? And they bought a townhouse in District 2. You still haven't asked your boss for that raise, have you?" That stung. I worked in tech support. Not glamorous, but it paid the bills. I'd always dreamed of starting my own app someday. Emily used to cheer me on, push me to code late into the night. But now? Pipe dreams, she called them. An intimacy? A memory. She stopped touching me, stopped kissing me unless I initiated, and even then, it felt forced, like checking a box on a to-do list. I tried. God, I tried. I cooked her favorite meals, took her on weekend getaways, even bought her the designer purse she'd been eyeing, something I couldn't really afford. She barely looked at it. It's last season, she said. I felt like I was losing her, and myself. Then, one night, everything came to a head. I'd gotten home early with takeout from her favorite Thai place. I walked in excited, hoping to salvage whatever we had left. But she wasn't alone. She was sitting on the couch, laughing, really laughing, for the first time in weeks. Opposite her was a man, well-dressed, confident. His hand casually rested on her knee like it belonged there. My heart sank. My breath caught. "Daniel," she said, standing abruptly. "You're early." The guy didn't move his hand right away. Didn't even flinch. "Who is this?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Just a business connection," she said too quickly. "For a content collaboration." Business connection, my ass. The man stood, extended a hand like we were about to talk contracts. "Adrian, we were just brainstorming some ideas." I didn't shake it. Emily looked at me like I was the one causing a scene. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, with one terrifying realization echoing over and over in my mind. I think she regrets marrying me. After that night, something in me broke. I didn't confront her, not directly. I wanted to believe it was just my mind playing tricks. Maybe they were just brainstorming. Maybe the hand on the knee was innocent. Maybe Emily still loved me deep down. But deep down was also where doubt lies, and it was growing louder by the day. I started watching. Not obsessively. Not at first. Just noticing things. Emily began spending more time outside the house. She always had meetings, shoots, events. But she never invited me. She'd come home later than usual, her perfume stronger, her phone clutched tight. She changed her passcode. That was new. I asked her once if she was okay. She gave me a vacant smile and said, "I'm fine. Just growing." Growing into what? A woman I didn't recognize. That weekend, while she was at a branding retreat, I finally let myself look. I know how that sounds. I wish I could say I was better than that, but I wasn't. I opened her laptop while it was charging in the living room. The password hadn't changed. And what I saw made my stomach knot. There were emails. Dozens of them. With Adrian. But they weren't just about collaborations. "I feel like I can breathe around you in a way I can't with him. Daniel doesn't get it. He still wants his simple life. I want more. You make me feel alive." I clicked through photo attachments. There were pictures, some of them clearly from their retreat. Wine glasses, hotel robes, her lips on his cheek, his arms around her waist. They weren't hiding. They weren't even ashamed. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, frozen, staring at the screen, realizing that the woman I loved had left me long ago. She was just living in my home, like a ghost in a borrowed body. When Emily came back Sunday evening, I didn't say anything. She kissed me on the cheek like everything was normal. I wanted to confront her, but I wasn't ready yet. I needed to know why. So I reached out to the last person who would still tell me the truth about her. Her sister, Claire. Claire and Emily used to be close, but they hadn't spoken much since the wedding. Emily called her judgmental, but I always thought Claire was the most grounded person in their family. We met for coffee the next day. I didn't tell Emily. Claire listened as I told her everything, the changes, the resentment, the emails. She sighed and shook her head. I warned her, she said quietly. Emily's always chasing something. Approval, success, glamour. She used to be different with you. I saw it. She was happy. But I think she never knew how to hold on to that kind of happiness. The quiet kind. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Do you think she ever really loved me? Claire looked at me with something close to pity. I think she did. But I also think she's the kind of person who only loves what she doesn't have. The next night, Emily came home late again. I was waiting at the dining table, the laptop open. She froze when she saw what was on the screen. I can't explain, she said. But she didn't try. Not really. Instead, she sat down across from me, eyes tired, voice flat. I didn't mean for this to happen. I let out a bitter laugh. But it did happen. She stared at her hands. I changed, Daniel. I know. But the truth is, I never thought this life would feel so small. I wanted to love it. I wanted to love you the way you deserve. But I can't live a life that feels like settling. Then why did you marry me? She looked up, eyes shining. Because I wanted to believe I could be that person. But I'm not. Silence stretched between us. Years of love hung in the air like dust in fading sunlight. And finally, I asked the only question I had left. Are you in love with him? She didn't answer. But she didn't need to. She didn't say yes. But she didn't say no. And somehow, that silence crushed me more than any confession could. I didn't scream. Didn't throw anything. Didn't even cry. I just nodded, stood up, and walked out of the room. I went to the balcony and stared into the empty street below, my hands gripping the cold railing like it might keep me from falling apart. That night, we slept in the same bed, but it felt like a grave. Neither of us spoke. Neither of us touched. The next morning, she was gone before I woke up. No note. No message. Just the bitter aftertaste of a truth I could no longer ignore. I called in sick. Sat on the couch for hours. And then, when I finally moved, I didn't pack her things, I packed mine. I stayed with Jake for a few days. He offered beers and bad jokes, trying to lighten the mood, but I wasn't ready to laugh yet. My parents called. I lied and said we were just working through something. What was I supposed to say? The woman I married outgrew me like an old sweater? No one tells you what to do when the love of your life stops choosing you. I didn't even know who I was without her. We'd built every part of our lives together, our routines, our habits, our favorite places. And now I had to unbuild it, brick by painful brick. But in that silence, something strange happened. I started breathing again. I went back to my code. Spent long nights tinkering on an app idea I'd abandoned a year ago. I reconnected with old friends, the kind who reminded me who I was before all this, before I started bending myself into someone I thought she wanted. Claire checked in often. You're stronger than you think, she said once. And she's not as whole as she pretends. And she was right. Because a week later, Emily showed up at Jake's. No warning. Just knocked on the door while I was gaming in the living room. Her eyes were puffy, her voice trembling. I made a mistake, she said. Adrian doesn't love me the way you did. It was all just excitement. I thought I wanted that life, but... I didn't let her finish. Emily, I said gently, I don't hate you, but I can't do this anymore. She blinked. You're giving up on us? No, I said. You gave up a long time ago. I'm just finally catching up. She looked like she wanted to cry again. Maybe she did, but part of me didn't trust those tears. Were they for me? Or just for the version of her life that didn't pan out? She stepped forward. Please, can't we try again? I thought about our memories, the laughter, the vows, the soft, quiet love that once filled our home. And then I thought about the emails, the coldness, the nights I stared at the ceiling wondering what I did wrong. "No," I whispered, "because the version of us you want to go back to doesn't exist anymore." She left, this time for good. And when the door closed, I didn't feel broken. I felt free. I didn't know what healing would look like. At first, I expected some cinematic moment, standing in the rain, yelling at the sky, then waking up a new man the next morning. But real healing is slower. It creeps in quietly, in the empty spaces where pain used to sit. After Emily left, the apartment felt hauntingly still. I expected echoes of our life together to hurt, but over time, they softened. The silence stopped screaming. The bed no longer felt like a grave. It felt like mine again. I started small. I replaced the gray, minimalist decor she'd installed with warm colors and old records. I went back to the book cafe where we first met, sat in the same corner, and didn't cry. I picked up my project, the app I'd once shelved to chase stability. Turns out, when I poured my grief into the code, it started to mean something. Claire became a kind of anchor. She didn't push, just checked in every few days, offering calm in a way that didn't demand answers. "You're not broken," she said one evening over tea. "You just let someone convince you that love means becoming invisible." Her words sat with me. I realized I had spent so long trying to save a version of Emily that no longer existed, I forgot to save myself. I let her redefine what enough meant. And now, for the first time in years, I was discovering what I wanted. Months passed. The pain didn't disappear, but it changed shape. It became a scar, a reminder, not a wound. And then, life surprised me. I launched my app quietly. No fanfare. Just posted it on a few forums and shared it with some friends. 2 weeks later, it went semi-viral. A tech blog picked it up. I got emails, job offers, investor interest, even a podcast interview. I wasn't chasing validation anymore. But it still felt good to be seen, to matter, to rebuild, to begin again. One afternoon, I ran into Emily at the supermarket. She looked different. Still beautiful, still polished, but the gleam in her eyes was duller. She smiled politely, asked how I'd been. I told her the truth. "I'm doing better." She nodded. "I'm glad. You deserve that." And then she walked away. No drama. No parting speech. Just closure. Real closure. That night, I met Claire for dinner. She raised her eyebrows when I told her about the supermarket run. "Was it weird?" she asked. "No," I said. "It was necessary." She smiled. "And now?" I paused. "Now I'm okay with who I'm becoming. Alone or maybe not forever." She didn't respond right away. Just sipped her wine. "I think she's going to regret letting you go," she finally said. I shook my head. That's her journey. I've got mine. I didn't know what healing would look like. At first, I expected some cinematic moment, standing in the rain, yelling at the sky, then waking up a new man the next morning. But real healing is slower. It creeps in quietly, in the empty spaces where pain used to sit. After Emily left, the apartment felt hauntingly still. I expected echoes of our life together to hurt, but over time, they softened. The silence stopped screaming. The bed no longer felt like a grave. It felt like mine again. I started small. I replaced the gray, minimalist decor she'd installed with warm colors and old records. I went back to the book cafe where we first met, sat in the same corner, and didn't cry. I picked up my project, the app I'd once shelved to chase stability. Turns out, When I poured my grief into the code, it started to mean something. Claire became a kind of anchor. She didn't push, just checked in every few days, offering calm in a way that didn't demand answers. "You're not broken," she said one evening over tea. "You just let someone convince you that love means becoming invisible." Her words sat with me. I realized I had spent so long trying to save a version of Emily that no longer existed, I forgot to save myself. I let her redefine what enough meant. And now, for the first time in years, I was discovering what I wanted. Months passed. The pain didn't disappear, but it changed shape. It became a scar, a reminder, not a wound. And then, life surprised me. I launched my app quietly. No fanfare. Just posted it on a few forums and shared it with some friends. 2 weeks later, it went semi-viral. A tech blog picked it up. I got emails, job offers, investor interest, even a podcast interview. I wasn't chasing validation anymore. But it still felt good to be seen, to matter, to rebuild, to begin again. One afternoon, I ran into Emily at the supermarket. She looked different. Still beautiful, still polished, but the gleam in her eyes was duller. She smiled politely, asked how I'd been. I told her the truth. "I'm doing better." She nodded. "I'm glad. You deserve that." And then she walked away. No drama. No parting speech. Just closure. Real closure. That night, I met Claire for dinner. She raised her eyebrows when I told her about the supermarket run. "Was it weird?" she asked. "No," I said. "It was necessary." She smiled. "And now?" "Now," I paused. "Now I'm okay with who I'm becoming. Alone, or maybe not forever." She didn't respond right away. Just sipped her wine. "I think she's going to regret letting you go," she finally said. I shook my head. "That's her journey. I've got mine."